Hello everyone, I'm Gil from AxLabs, and today I'll provide some project updates that we've been developing and executing this in the ecosystem. Let's start with Neo3j. So in Neo3j, recently we provided support for Neo 3.5.0. Also, we released Neo3j 3.19.2 and also the 3.19.3. And we made a snapshot release, because we were preparing the NeoFS support for Neo3j. So these are the highlights, and we're going a bit more in detail on those. So in the release 3.19.2 and 3, we added some support for new opcodes like the push T and push F, and also the new syscall, which is the system runtime load script, which basically you can load the script within your smart contract. Also, we added some convenience methods, because the new version of Neo now have like this. They changed the contract management smart contract. We added support for the get contract by ID and also the get contract hashes method. But something that we're really proud of telling is that we fixed, or actually it's not a fix, actually we found a better way to do some Boolean conversion in the dev pack, meaning that now if you use Boolean conversion in the new version of Neo3j and you compile your smart contract with this new version, you can save gas by a factor of 1,000 times. We just found out a better way for doing this Boolean conversion, and it's great that people who are using Neo3j now can save a bunch of gas in their mainnet deployment. Now going to another topic, which is the NeoFS support in Neo3j. For those who are not yet familiar, we are developing a way that with Neo3j, you could interface or interact with NeoFS, for example, creating objects or files in NeoFS or creating containers. Like all the operations that NeoFS support, but programming or doing in Java. Why it's important? Because, for example, if you develop your backend in Java Kotlin and you need to interface with NeoFS, you can conveniently do that using our library. The good news is that we released a 3.19.4 snapshot version that includes this NeoFS support on most prominent CPU architectures. So we're going to talk a bit more on what include, but I just want to show why I mention here most prominent CPU architectures is because we are developing also a shared library, a NeoFS shared library, which is basically provides a library that provides key functions of NeoFS natively. For specific platforms and architectures, so that any programming language, for example, Python or let's say, like Java or other programming languages can load this SO files and headers, and then do some calls natively. So basically, the programming language will be just a wrapper, a convenience layer, but pointing to the same implementation of NeoFS. So we just support here like Linux AMD, Linux ARM, like macOS Darwin, ARM CPUs, and AMD as well. In just Windows that we don't yet support the ARM64, but we support Intel, AMD, and Intel ones, also 64, and also 32 bits. But this is not widely used at this present moment. So you can take a look on NeoFS share lib and also provide feedback. It's not yet released. We have a beta release, which is the latest one is the 0.0.11. You can take a look on all the assets that we release every time for all the platforms and architectures. So coming back to the presentation, so in this snapshot version of Neo3j, we added like the features that were missing for the NeoFS support, which were create objects, delete objects, and read files, the header of it, and also the content of the files. So now with these new features, we must say that it's almost feature complete. There are some things missing still, but actually now you can use it, this NeoFS support in Neo3j. So as I said before, what is the status is that we are getting there. It's a soon to be released feature or a group of features, which is the NeoFS support. And why? Because also we're waiting a stable release of some NeoFS dependencies, for example, their SDK. Otherwise, we'll need to change Neo3j APIs and like every time that the NeoFS folks change something. So this is not desirable. So we are waiting and developing this NeoFS support Neo3j in other directions. So also I must say that we reached the 90% of integration tests, 90% are finalized. Yeah, it simply works, guys. Like it's amazing to see like Neo3j being able to interact directly using Java and using Kotlin, putting files in UFS, downloading files, etc., etc. So it's pretty awesome. So guys, I just want to tell that you can follow us. You can follow Neo3j updates, etc. in Twitter. So go there, press the button, and yeah, we're gonna keep you updated. We're really proud of telling that we are receiving great feedback from people using Neo3j. So for example, people telling that our support is amazing because we always want to know if they're facing some difficulty, some challenges, what are the issues, and we try to help as much as we can. And also in the second comment that we got in Discord, because these two comments here came from Discord, but the second one is specifically targeting the test framework of Neo3j, which in his opinion is fantastic, which is pretty cool to hear. So yeah, kudos to the AxLabs team on developing Neo3j and with an awesome support and also for an awesome test framework support. Now let's go to GrantShares. So GrantShares is another project that we've been developing, and during December and January we released some new features. The first one was the feedback forms and surveys, because we wanted to get some opinions from our audience, from our users, on what to improve. And we received several improvement suggestions, actually. Some improvement suggestions, but also feedback. Some feedback, of course, not great, not so good, but some other constructive feedbacks that we are following up now. Also, we release email notifications and the notification settings because we want to inform about proposals and the life cycle of proposals as soon as they happen. So I just want to highlight here, if you go to the GrantShares app, if you click Launch App, you have to pair your GitHub account, and then you will see the avatar on the right, in the top right corner here. You click on it, and then you're gonna see like some settings about notifications, and then you can basically subscribe for to get notified when new proposals are created or when the proposals are put on chain, when the proposals are accepted, etc., etc. So you can specifically subscribe, for individual notifications updates here. Also, what you can do, we take your email from your GitHub account, but if you want to change your email, we can always write a new one here, press the button, you're going to receive an email confirming that you're the owner of that email address, and also confirm you're going to start getting notifications from this one, which is nice sometimes to have. But continue, we also release some small improvements and fixes, like showing voter and endorser names, but not the addresses of the members. So if you go here in the proposals, and then you click, for example, on this proposal here, which is basically in the voting phase, here in the voting status, you can click on the voting breakdown, and then you see now the names of the members. You can click on, for example, the member, and then you see the address of that member. Or if you want to see the list of the members that voted on this proposal and how they voted, you can also click here on the members tab, and then you see it's basically a dashboard when you see like the name of the member and the address associated to it, and the number of votes and the number of endorsements. Great. So I just want to tell also in relation to the proposals what happened during December and January. We had 5 new proposals accepted and executed, which amounts and 6,811 neos and 165 guests, granted basically through these proposals. Also, like people ask us, okay, Gil, it's great that GrantShares is distributing these grants, but do you guys actually keep track of the results? After the proposal get accepted and people got the money, the authors of this proposal got the money. So do you keep track of what is next if they're delivering, basically? So yes, we created a kind of a reporting website, which is reporting.grantshares.io. And I have to tell that so far, all the accepted proposals have been delivered, or they are still in progress. But you never know what can happen in the future, right? So if you click on this one, if you go to this reporting website, you can see here all the proposals, what is the status, when they got executed, what is the deadline of those proposals, and basically also you have like another view here in this table where you can click and you can see the proposals that are done basically, and yeah. So I think nowadays this is being done manually, but in the future, of course, we can add new features to keep track of the reporting, if the proposals are being delivered or not directly in the GrantShares website. It's not yet the case, but we are getting there. So let me tell you some numbers, some total numbers of GrantShares. What is the state of it? So far until now, we got 12 accepted proposals, 3 rejected, 6 expired, and 12 canceled. Out of these 12, we had also 6 proposals that were resubmitted after they were canceled. Because before, remember that we didn't have this feature that authors could edit proposals. People like in the past had to cancel their proposals and then like resubmit it if they want to change any detail, like founding amount or the description of the proposal. Which you don't need to cancel anymore. We just can go there now and edit. But anyway, it's worth mentioning. So in total, it was allocated as grants the equivalent of $174,000. And we still have in our treasuries 8,555 neos and the 3,228 guests still there. Something that it's kind of new to us and is quite impressive is that so far we had around or more than 700 comments in the off-chain discussion phase, which it shows a lot of engagement from our community. So what's next? We're gonna have some minor fixes and improvements, here and there, but it's important to mention that we're going to do a feature freeze in GrantShares because we are checking what is next for GrantShares, what are the features, what are how the platform or how the DAO can evolve over time, and in this period we're going to do a feature freeze. Also because we were searching for funding, and this is something that it takes time until we put the pieces together. Also, it's worth mentioning that in the GrantShares, we tweet what the new features and new cool things that we do in the DAO. So you follow us in Twitter, twitter.com/GrantShares. Yes, and last but not least, people keep asking about the shill your proposal sessions that we used to do as Twitter Spaces, in the Twitter Spaces, right? We didn't have any new episodes in December and January because of holidays. But yeah, guys, calm down because we'll be back on February. So we're gonna be you're gonna have like your chance to shield your proposal in GrantShares, or we're gonna maybe invite some of the proposal authors to talk about their projects. So yeah, stay tuned because good things will happen starting from January on this regard. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, take care.
The COZ January product update. As we've started to begin reaching a level of maturity on the tools that we've been developing that is, in my opinion, production or enterprise class, we've started to transition the team over to working really on technical product business development. And what I mean by that is leveraging our tools and our experiences with building products in the Neo ecosystem to attract organizations and teams and provide them with support for product delivery within our space. So that's really been one of the major focuses in January, and will probably continue to be so for the next year. To continue with that direction, this month we've hosted multiple direct workshops for new projects joining the ecosystem. We've hosted those both live and then also virtually. We've also begun to provide some strategic support for new projects. There's some that are staging or gearing up for a seed raise, and getting some VC funding. So we've been providing some strategic advisory services there, and providing them with some technology to ensure that that experience is successful. And then we've also been working on the product positioning of Neo itself towards an external audience to attract people into the ecosystem. And I think we'll see that a lot in the upcoming events that the Neo community and the Neo team itself hosts over the next year. Regarding specific projects, we've been spending quite a bit of time on the props environment. So we've been using that with some of these business development opportunities. We're also starting to work on a major project push with props that will really, at least in our opinion, my personal opinion, attract a lot of developers, and hopefully business development, new business opportunities for the ecosystem. I think it'll also help enable a number of new projects, and you'll find out more about those updates over the next month or so. We've also been working on a major SDK update for the props project, which includes native support for WalletConnect, so people can optionally toggle between directly executing a contract invocation within props or relaying the transaction through WalletConnect. This uses a project called NeoInvoker and can add pretty quickly support for DAPI in addition to WalletConnect for those projects that use the SDK. And that release should come out pretty soon. On the tooling side, Dora v2 API is almost at parity with v1. I believe I spoke about this in the last update. We're hoping to have that launched here, hopefully by Valentine's Day, so by mid-February. That should be showing up in production. We have also made a pretty substantial release. It's been a while since we pushed anything out for BOA. So BOA v12 is out, and it adds a bunch of features, support for Neo v3.5, and then it also implements a bunch of usability enhancements based on some user feedback. This release also stages the project to add enhanced support for other tooling initiatives, specifically the contract package manager that was briefly discussed last month as well. On the Essentials Suite, we pushed a release for Neon Wallet Desktop, which has quite a few minor enhancements and defect mitigations. I won't go into them all here. I think some of the big ones are the adoption of the Ghost Market v2 API, and the ability to have a system fee override through WalletConnect. That's used a lot if there is some probability that there's a contract invocation that shows up before your contract invocation is executed. So sometimes you can pad the number there a little bit to improve the user experience, since the system fees can be somewhat variable in a few occasions. We've also been working on a common SDK for our Essential Suite, so Dora and the wallets, which will help drive code alignment and give us a lot of product efficiency, architectural efficiency. that's my updates for the week. I look forward to seeing you guys in the community and providing some really cool statuses over the next couple months, hopefully, as some of this work starts to show up in public. Thanks, everyone.
G'day, Dean here from Neo News today to give you our development updates from December 2022 and January 2023. We'll be focusing on GasBot and NDAP because that's where all our development work really goes into. And obviously we had Christmas and New Year's in there, so it's really not quite 2 months worth of development, but we still managed to ship quite a few updates and features. So we'll go through those. Start off with GasBot. So we've added support for Doja, Dojef, and FDE, so you can now send and receive those tokens using GasBot on Discord, which is very cool. We've added a new giveaway function. Now basically what this allows you to do is create a giveaway, create a pool of tokens, of gas tokens, and decide how many winners you want to have from that pool and a chance for people to win from that pool. So I'll give you a quick demo here. So basically you can use the giveaway commands. I'm going to use giveaway create. The amount is how many tokens you want to give away. So in this example I want to give away 5 gas. I want there to be 5 winners, so every winner will receive 1 gas, and you can set the probability of them winning. So I'm going to do this myself, and I want you to see what happens when someone wins. So I'm just going to set the probability on this one at 99% to basically ensure I'm going to win. So hit there and it's going to think. So this is kind of the basic version of some of the more advanced sort of community engagement games and things we want to create. So we're going to build upon this for things like, you know, guessing games and stuff like that. Sort of get tokens into the community and make it a really nice easy bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, onboard people in a fun way. So you can see here the giveaway's been created. Everyone who does win will receive 1 gas. The probability of winning after hitting this claim button is 99%, and there'll be 5 winners. So you would create this in a channel, and then everyone would rush to hit claim. So once you hit claim, the GasBot's going to do its thinking. It's going to calculate, see if I've won, rolling the dice. At 99% you would think I would win. And everyone can only hit the claim button once. Well, you look at that, I won. So I won 1 gas. So yeah, everyone can only hit the claim button once. The creator can hit the claim button, as you just saw, but I don't see a lot of giveaway creators claiming their own prizes. But there you go, that's that. So we think that's pretty cool. That was used in the New Year's Moment competition that Neo had just run. So anyone who participated in that would have already used this new giveaway feature. GasBot was also used for the World Cup competition, which was pretty good. That was a good way of getting gas into the hands of many people in the community. And we've also added a bunch of other quality and life improvements, such as delivering error messages quietly and things like that, so it doesn't spam up the channels that it's being used in. Some of the things that are coming next for GasBot, so FUSD support is in the works. We're also updating the giveaway feature so you can use any NEP17 tokens that are currently supported by GasBot. So at the moment it only supports gas tokens, but in the future, if the token is supported by GasBot, you will be able to use it on the giveaway function. And I think that will be great for all the communities, so they can, you know, do giveaways with their own tokens, all the different projects that is. We're also looking at a gas faucet, so basically that will be a command that you can run, so maybe it'll be /faucet, and it will check your GasBot account to see if you have enough gas to perform a transaction, and if you don't, it will send you a drop of gas. So this is really going to help people out who are either tipped a token, a NEP17 token, or maybe they win some NEP17 tokens on one of these giveaways, and then they want to either tip someone else or withdraw the tokens, but they don't have any gas. The faucet will make sure you don't get stuck. So these are some of the short-term priorities we're going to be looking at in the next couple of months for GasBot. For NDAP, so we have a new apps section. Previously, we would only add dApps to NDAP if it had a smart contract. We now have the apps section here to add applications that use NeoTech but don't necessarily need a smart contract. So they might use Neo or NEP17 tokens for payments. They might, like Lounge uses some signing functionality from Neo, things like that. There are lots of different projects that are in and around using Neo technology, but maybe aren't using the smart contract, features. So we will add them there, and people will be able to discover them. What else? We have a new gas calculator. So this was live briefly. We've actually just taken it down as I'm recording this video because we found an error in the calculation, but this is the better version. So, we've all seen gas calculators before. You tell it how much Neo you have, and it tells you how much gas you roughly claim per month. In this better version, you can see the gas is pretty low. It's because it's calculating how much you would get if you are not voting. We need to update that so it is assuming you are voting and providing the kind of average return. So that will go live again pretty soon. We've also added some improvements to the tokens page. So we've added some tokens that were missing. We've improved the charts, and we've also updated the tokens on the home page to be more relevant to the Neo ecosystem. So you can see here on the home page, these are now all very Neo-centric tokens. Before it was showing the tokens with the largest market cap. So it was seeing like, FBTC and things like that. All the wrapped versions of tokens that, that's great, but that's not really what we're looking for. And we have added, we've added FBNB, we've added FDE and FUSD, so they're all visible here now. And these graphs have a lot more variation than they used to. You can sort of see the ups and downs a bit more than you could previously. So a few little updates there. Next steps. So we do have an advanced gas calculator in the works. Will work very similar to the simple version, except you will be able to select different Neo Council candidates and see how that affects your theoretical gas returns based on how much Neo you have. We are also looking at adding additional data sources to the tokens page. So there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, there are some right now basically we pull all our information from Flamingo. Obviously there are other exchanges out there, and some of those exchanges have tokens that aren't listed on Flamingo. So For the Win is an example. So we'll be looking at integrating some more data sources into this, just to make it a bit more reliable, to make sure we've got all the tokens that we can possibly list here. We are working on adding NFT market data to the site, so that will show up in the form, at least first in the beginning, of something similar to our tokens page. So it will provide information on the different NFT collections, general pricing and market data. What's the floor price, what was the last sale price, what's the average sale price, those sorts of things. So that will be useful. We're also looking at adding WalletConnect and DAPI. So those two things alone are not particularly useful, but they will open the door to a lot of other features that we want to bring in that will help people onboard into the Neo ecosystem. So considering we're a DApp discovery platform, it makes sense to go from discovery to onboarding. So that is a step in that direction. And then just some general SEO improvements are in the works as well. So that's what we are looking at in the next couple of months. We might not get through all of these ones here on NDAP, but hopefully next time I'm doing this video in, I guess, March, I will be showing you some of these, if they've shown up, which I think they will. That's it for us for the moment. Happy New Year to everyone. 2023, let's make it a good one, and let's make some stuff happen. Cheers.
Hello, it's Mela from NeoNext. As we said last time, yes, we are currently working hard to revise the wallet extension and make it more compatible with the older one. There are a lot of points to consider and too many details to do. For example, we are changing the way users access the wallet. We are dividing users into new users and old users. The old users need to convert to the new mode to access the wallet. And there needs to be a way to prove that all wallets are one's wallet. For example, you are given some list and you need to enter all passwords in a reasonable time frame, so that they are verified and then switched to the new mode. Otherwise, it is still running in the mode of the old version. And of course, there's no security hole here. But we guide users to update the way the wallet works, which makes it easier to use. And all wallets are managed by a password that you have to enter before you open the lifecycle of the wallet. It's like when you enter a room and use the key to open the door. You enter the room and the key is in the room. You leave the room and the room closes itself because you left with the key. Okay, it should be easy to understand here. It's also about importing and exporting the way the wallets work. When we did the refactoring, we found that it's a complicated thing. It had to be compatible not only with a single wallet, but also, yes, you could say NEP6 standard, blah, blah. I admit this is a historical problem, but in the old version of the wallet, it's one wallet, one password. So I think it cannot be called a problem. It's just a file that only stores one wallet key information. When a new wallet comes out, then it will allow importing multiple wallets. As for other problems, don't worry because we are still trying our best to solve them. The new wallets will look fresh and be more convenient to use. Stay tuned and you will see.
Hello everybody, I am Vitor from NeoResearch team. Today I would like to show to some of you some basic features that we use in our daily experience with Neo blockchain. I think that in the past Neo compiler has been used by most of the developers, but nowadays with Neo 3 we have several other tools and tooling. But we still use Neo compiler echo a lot. We use this locally, as you can see here. It's in my local host, but it's also online on neocompiler.io. So we have, I use my local environment here. As you can see, you can follow the blockchain. So you can have a good experience for debugging if you have some error while testing some consensus features. You can also filter logs. You can also compile, as the tool was made in the beginning. So in this first example, we have here hello world. You can call it for compiling. We also have that one I told you that is online and everybody can access it. You can also connect to mainnet, for example. Like here, it's connect to mainnet now. We have an activity tab. You can follow. This is the last blocks of mainnet. For example, you want blocks with a minimum number of transactions. So, for example, let's take this number here, the last 100. It's searching on the mainnet and found these ones. So hello world has been compiled. You can also deal with multiple files contracts. It's asking if you want to save this contract, not now. So we have here multiple files. You can also compile them. You can change the name of the file. It has been compiled. All contracts that are compiled, they are here. They need to be deployed. For you to deploy a contract, you need to connect a wallet. So, connect a wallet. If you have O3, NeoLine, and other extensions, they may appear here. But right now, I don't have any of them connected, so no. So, no will be connected. This is a multi-signature account that initially has this amount of Neo. We can deploy the contract with it. So deploy this contract here, for example, hello world. Okay. Here we just call the invoke function of an RPC that you can also configure, and you can relay to the blockchain. It has been relayed. So it will appear here in an activity tab. This is your transaction. You can see here you call the contract management. Your contract has been deployed. You can get the transaction. You can get the blocks. You can follow. There are some also tools here, some useful tools that you can convert some basic arithmetics that we do in new blockchain. You can connect to mainnet, testnet. You can use the apps. Let's test the hello world a little bit more deeply. I will open it here. No. So for this hello world to work, we need to call my method. Okay. As you can see, for example, storage. It will not work here. It will say unknown contract. Perhaps because I tried this one. If I tried this one, it will say invalid parameters because I said hello. But let's convert it. I think we need like that. Okay. There are other simple ways to do that, but I will just show. Perhaps this method was automatically called when we deployed. Let's check it here. Yes. As we deploy the contract, it automatically sets hello to world. Okay. So the example worked. You can also enable oracles. Oracles are enabled now. You can enable statehood trees. MPT trees for you to check the statehood. So there are several tools here that we use in our daily experience with Neo. As you can see, it's not really beautiful, but it's useful for us here for teaching, for organizing workshops, and I believe that for some of you or some colleagues or someone that is starting to learn and play with Neo, we still believe Neo Compiler is a good tool. We have been improving its interface recently, and we took some time to improve it a little bit more. Of course, there are many other things that can be done, but the basic features are here. You can save your contracts, you can come back, it's in the local storage of your browser. So it's something made for you to have a first contact with Neo, and as it is right now, we believe everybody can use it and can do several tests. You can also have an activity of your transactions. We have some pull requests for you to replay these transactions, so it's good for automated testing of contracts. And that's it I would like to show to you today. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye-bye.
Today I'm gonna tell you about the progress made by the NeoSPCC team in the past 2 months. That is December 2022 and the January 2023. We'll start with NeoGo.
We've made 3 releases of NeoGo, starting with version 0.100.0, and it's an important one, not just because it has a nice number, but also because it completely supports all of the protocol changes that were made in the C# node version 3.5.0. So you can use it for current testnet and mainnet that were upgraded in December. It has some NeoGo specific changes as well. One of them is that we have removed some deprecated compatibility functionality with the old versions. You probably won't notice it, but you should be aware of it. So we also have changed our configuration files a bit. All configurations are still supported, but we recommend that you take a look at the changes that were made and adjust your configs files, probably by just taking our samples for mainnet and testnet, because in some future release, maybe in half a year from now, we'll be removing support for these old ways to configure the node, like this field or this field and anything like. The configuration changes are rather simple. We have some settings moved from one place to another, and most feasible probably is that we can have multiple addresses for all of the services, and basically everywhere addresses are used. This changed syntax somewhat, but this at the same time gives you some new abilities, so we think it's gonna be good. Another change that I wanted to highlight in this release is that our compiler can now extract additional type data that can then be used by the RPC bindings generator to generate contract-specific RPC code that includes support for complex data structures. You can take a look at the example of how it works. So we've got a contract like this, and it's a pretty simple stub, but the most interesting thing about it is that it accepts a pointer to structure and also returns a pointer to structure, and the structure can be seen here. It's a needlessly complex one, but it's just to showcase what we can do. This contract also has a config, as all contracts in Go have. It's also a pretty simple one, so we declare this method as a safe one because it doesn't change any state. It basically does nothing, but anyway. So we can compile it in a regular NeoGo way. So it looks like this. The struct with the config file. We will output the nef file first to somewhere, and then the manifest also. That's the regular compilation string for NeoGo. So if we're to do that, we can take a look at the resulting manifest and easily see the problem with it. It has the method we want to return, but this method only has array types declared for parameters and return type, so this structure that we had above is totally missing. Now we can add an additional parameter to the compiler string to generate bindings data, and it looks like this. And we can also take a look at what's inside of this file. So this is an additional data, and it has a representation of this internal structure that we have in the smart contract. This file can be consumed by the RPC binding generator that will look like this. Generate RPC wrapper, and we can take a look at how it works. It takes manifest for the input. So we'll take it from here. It also takes this configuration file that was mentioned earlier. It's gonna be this. And it also needs a hash of the contract. We'll just take this stub and let's output it to some file like this. So now let's take a look at what do we have inside. And it looks like this. And what we have here is this representation of the same structure that can be used by the backend code. And actually this wrapper that represents the contract interface, it has this struct method that accepts a structure that we have seen above and also returns it. So what it does is it calls the contract via RPC and then takes the resulting stick item and converts it to this new type. It does it with this function that looks pretty weird probably and complex, but that's what we have to do to get all the data we need. And the main thing probably is that this code is auto-generated, so you have to do nothing. All you really care about is that you have this structure and you have this contract reader interface that you can use on the back end, and that's it. What I have seen works for Go contracts, but we think the same functionality can be made for any other languages and SDKs, so we have submitted a proposal for a new ABI standard that can replace NEP14 and that will include this data that we currently have as an additional YAML file in NeoGo, but this will just be a part of the manifest JSON. So we have received some comments on it, but at the same time, I can probably ask for anyone that have not yet looked at it to have a look and maybe provide some feedback, because there are some questions that can be improved, and we think that this standard is an important one. We don't change manifest formats often, and it's one of the core things of the Neo protocol, so please have a look and leave your feedback. The more we have it, the better we can make this standard be. Now let's get back to NeoGo releases. That's what we had for 0.100.0, but it was quite some time ago, and we had 2 more releases since then. One is a little update that probably is not very interesting for a regular public, but it was an important one for the NeoFS mainnet maintenance and upgrade, so we just had to do that. And the next one, which is also the most recent one, is a bug fix release. We have fixed some things that we have found and that were reported to us, so we recommend everyone upgrading to this version. That will require a resynchronization, unfortunately, but at the same time, that's the latest and greatest version of NeoGo that currently exists.
What we are working on right now is fixing dBFT problem known as the liveness lock. It's a very rare and very specific case, but when it happens, it can stop the whole consensus process and break the blockchain. We can't let it happen to Neo, we can't let it happen to NeoFS, so that's why we're working on it.
What we have already done here is that we have created a TLE plus model for dBFT 2.0, and it actually pretty quickly finds this liveness lock problem, so we think it works. And we have also tried to fix the model, and it was an interesting experience in that some of our attempts actually reintroduced sporks, the dBFT 1.0 problem. But as of now, we think we have a model that works well enough, and TLE Plus is not able to find any misbehavior for it. This model doesn't have any liveness lock, and it works. At the same time, of course, it's not an easy thing, and this model needs to be checked once and again, and we need to try implementing it and then try to really test it. So this will take us some time to get some final result, but at least the thing that we have now already is promising. Another thing that we are planning to do in the nearest future is implementing the changes for RPC error codes as they are outlined in this proposal. It was submitted earlier last year, and we think it's in a good shape. It doesn't require any changes, so it can be implemented right away, and that's what we are going to do in NeoGo, and we hope that C# node will follow, because this makes interaction with RPC more reliable and predictable for the apps, so it's good.
Moving on to NeoFS. In the end of December last year, we have updated NeoFS mainnet to version 0.34.0, and it was previously updated to version 0.28.1 somewhere like in May last year. So we had a number of releases since then, and we have fixed a lot of bugs since then, and we knew of a lot of issues with this old version, but this update was long postponed for various reasons. Now it's done, and we have an up-to-date version of NeoFS running on mainnet. That's good.
But around the same time when we were finishing NeoFS mainnet upgrade, a new release was committed, and that's 0.35.0. It was actually ready late December last year, but due to operational issues, the relevant tag and the binaries were pushed to GitHub just last week. It's mostly about bug fixing, and we have fixed tons of bugs in various components. It improves reliability and handles disk errors better, and it also updates some of the dependencies like NeoGo, so overall it's a nice release.
What we are doing with NeoFS today we call a structural simplification. Internally, NeoFS has a number of components and services that are interconnected with each other, and by the way, they're using a number of protocols to do that, and that are also interdependent on each other. This makes it hard to deploy the system and makes it especially painful to maintain, operate, and update it, which limits our ability to deliver fixes and updates to the users. This is just not the way it should be, so that's why this problem is our top priority for now, and we're working on it.
So what we have started with already and where we have some progress is merging NeoGo consensus node and NeoFS inner ring nodes. If you were to take a look at the typical picture of the NeoFS structure, it has these consensus nodes that are NeoGo, some blockchain nodes. We also have RPC nodes for blockchain, and we have NeoFS inner ring nodes and storage nodes as well, because someone has to store the data. They are all interconnected, but they are using P2P Neo protocol, and they are using RPC protocol, and they are using gRPC protocol. And we have alphabet nodes, so-called alphabet nodes, that are inner ring nodes, that are closely tied with consensus nodes that run the blockchain. But they are currently different services with different configurations, different ports, and they have to be connected to each other to work correctly. At the same time, they use the same key, and we deploy them to the same nodes usually, so having them as two separate services doesn't bring any benefit, and we have decided to merge them. This will bring us to an alternative picture that will look like this, and we will have these consensus nodes and IR nodes merged into one service. They will no longer need to be connected with each other, and technically this picture can then be simplified by removing these RPC nodes, because inner ring nodes also can run RPC, and maybe even by replacing these links that are NeoRPC links with gRPC links, or the other way around. That's something that we will discuss and think about somewhere in the future, but for now we already have a prototype of this merged node, and it's quite promising. But that's not the only thing we have in our queue. We also want to integrate NeoFS contracts into inner ring nodes. NeoFS contracts are contracts that are deployed to blockchain, but they actually store NeoFS state data, and currently they're managed and deployed somewhat separately from this system, and it's a problematic relationship that we want to improve. But that's not the only thing we're doing with contracts. We are also reviewing them, auditing them for some things that we have found already, like some API limitations that we want to solve so that they won't be limiting NeoFS. We also want to drop some old code, starting with the so-called notaryless mode support that we no longer need. This will affect contracts, of course, and the node itself, and we expect to remove some substantial amount of code there. That will, of course, simplify our future developments, because we will no longer need to think about this mode and test for it.
The next thing on our NeoFS to-do list is SDK 1.0. We know third-party developers need some stable version to be able to do their cool dApps, and we don't want to block them. We want them to be building on top of NeoFS and doing all the things they want with NeoFS. So we will get to it once we're done with the things mentioned previously, and we'll be working on it.
And the last thing I wanted to mention today is that we have previously done some work for the Neo name service. We know it's running on mainnet now, and you can get some names, you can get some neo.link domains. But if you're interested in hosting real domains like example.com on Neo name service, you should check out these pull requests. They make NNS work a little more like real DNS, and actually allow to bridge DNS and NNS with the core DNS plugin. So if you're interested in that, check it out.
Happy New Year, and this is our first community meeting in 2023. Here I'm going to present what our digital labs team doing recently. The first one is the daily updates of the NeoCo protocol. We fixed some bugs and fixed some features. And the second one is also related to the NeoCo protocol. Recently, we already add the NeoZK support, and the pull request is already tested and reviewed, will be merged in the next release. So Neo will support zero knowledge related OP code. The third one is for the Neo core protocol, we are going to have the new version release, and it will be 3.6.0 and will be released in the end of February. So in this release, we can see more features on Neo core protocol and also ZK related OP code. Then next one is the NS, the new name service, and we already launched it several months ago, but it's just a Neo name service, and people can buy Neo name service and bind it to the address. Now we are going to support it to band customized DNS. So in the Neo name service, you can add more record with your IP address now. And if you have your personal blogs, your personal website, you can bind it to your Neo name, Neo domain name. And if you do it, then you can directly access to your personal website through the Neo name directly. So finally, we are going to plan to launch our new product, NeoChat, which is a peer-to-peer address-based chat and also encrypted by your wallet. So it's instant chat and only can be accessed by your wallet, and every message is encrypted. And we also will get notification to your email and to Blog Explorer. And we are fully testing it. Hope can be released a beta version in the end of this month. So that's all. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I hope you had a very, very good New Year's time with family, with friends, and back raring to go. John D. from Seattle. I wanted to give you a quick update in terms of what we've been up to, what is in progress, as well as what is in planning, and what you can expect to see us shipping both in the near term as well as through the course of 2023. So without further ado, let's jump in and I'll walk you through the slides. In terms of work in progress, a few things that you're probably very familiar with. One is the code coverage release, which will probably push out in the next day or two. We were looking to sync with the next minor release, but at this point, I think we will push it out. It's already obviously in preview. We have some very good, very strong, well-known partners across the ecosystem already trying it out, using it, and giving us feedback. The second one, which I think you've heard us discuss sometime last year as well, providing first-class support for TypeScript in the toolkit. Once again, we've been working very closely with a number of community teams that are using this set of capabilities. Very happy to get the feedback, and certainly very happy to take this input to make sure that what we ship in V1 obviously is first class. The next one, this is actually a subset of something I have discussed earlier in the context of what we call WorkNet. And I'll come back to this in the next slide. But a subset of what we call WorkNet is this notion of a shell, a Neo shell. And those of you who follow me on Twitter, you know I've expressed my thinking and my ideas in terms of the conceptual view of what you might call a Neo shell, an extensible, pluggable set of utilities that I would like to see our ecosystem and the broader community build plugins, extensions, and make it really the full-fledged, if you will, experience. So this is in the likes, if you're old school Unix guys, you're probably very familiar with the shell concept. So we think of NeoShell. Certainly, my vision of NeoShell is very much like the early days of C Shell or Bash and so on and so forth. So this is something very much in progress, and you'll expect to see this coming out from us in the next few weeks, I would say. We'll probably make some big announcements in terms of actual usage at the next major event in the spring. But for now, obviously, you will be able to use it, play with it, and certainly give us feedback. Last but not the least, once again, those of you who follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter, I just came back from the Economic Forum in Davos. Very strong work in terms of standards. We, and I say we, I mean the collective, broader ecosystem and the key communities believe very much in the notion of interoperability, a way to enable multiple protocols of all shapes and sizes to be able to work together. This is something goes back to my roots in terms of my work in the early days of the cloud, as well as even earlier with web services. So very strong engagement, very good work. And of course, you're going to see bits and sort of smaller pieces of this coming out in terms of code and tooling support. This is a long-term strategic engagement for me personally, and I believe for us as a broader community. Critical piece of work, working with the right people at the right organizations, and certainly in terms of policymakers, is key for our success in this particular space. That's kind of a quick summary of what is work in progress. Let me go to the next slide. In terms of work and planning, and so when I say work and planning, this is work in various phases of either architecture or design, very much in the conceptual and the early days of the logical design, wherein we explore multiple options in terms of the underlying design before we actually commit to shipping a preview release that you can use, you can work and play with. First, of course, the WorkNet, the N3 WorkNet, which I have discussed briefly late last year as well. This idea of a team-based environment for collaboration to be able to work, whether you're a team of 2 or a team of 20 or even larger, being able to work with a clone in terms of the state, to be able to checkpoint, to be able to roll back, roll forward, but also to ensure that the applications building on top of N3 are able to have a robust environment to test in the context of CI/CD. And so my vision for WorkNet really was this CI/CD setup that is extensible. So you're going to see early releases, early versions, but it will take time for us to snowball this to realize the full vision. But you can expect, obviously, to see releases coming up in the next few months. The next one here, something I have not discussed earlier. Folks who are watching or listening, developers in particular, you're probably familiar with some version of what is called Postman out there. And I've been working on some early ideas to design, to architect what you might call the Postman version for N3. Of course, I use the term Postman very loosely because you might be familiar with this set of tools. This notion of lifecycle management, from being able to design a smart contract, to be able to obviously debug using the toolkit, to test, to version, to have a repository, to be able to enable governance, to be able to ensure compliance, and sort of the full gamut, if you will, in terms of life cycles. So that's obviously very much work and planning, I would say. This is going to be a very big area of focus for us, and certainly for me personally, in the coming months. So I want to give you a quick sense of where we are with respect to planning. That's probably it for now. I don't want to take too much time, but you know where to reach me, ping me. If you have feedback, if you have ideas, if you have things you would like to see us do more or less as well, always happy to hear your feedback and your questions. And of course, as you use these tools to give us, in terms of what you like most, so we can do a much better job of ensuring that what you like is where we put most of our time as well as our energy. So with that, very happy to give you this quick update, and of course, looking forward, to connecting with you. I think we're going to see more forums and events, certainly this calendar year. That gives me energy to be able to connect in person. So certainly that's going to be a key part of how we roll out these new tools we are building for you and for the ecosystem. So once again, thank you very much, and you have a good day. Take care.
Hello, everyone. I'm Daniela Valdivieso, Service and Account Manager at Redford Cybersecurity. I would like to take this opportunity to say a late Happy New Year and a Happy Chinese Year to everyone. We're very happy to be starting a new year working with Neo and the communities, making this our 7th year improving, protecting, and monitoring the security of Neo and its projects. I will be giving you a quick update of what we've been doing up recently during the past month of January, the 1st of 2023. As you can see, the projects audited and reviewed so far. We are still working with FUSD on mitigation support, fixes review, and pull request review and follow-up of the project audited on November, delivered on December. And hopefully we will deliver the final report soon. We are working as well on the Neo Compounder audit, and coming up next we will have the review of the fixes, mitigation support, and delivery as well of the final report. Additionally, we are working on the audit of FUSD stacking contract, which is developed by Neo's team and scheduled to be delivered on the 10th of February. With, of course, its mitigation support, fixes review, pull request follow-up, and the final report delivered. Likewise, we are currently planning and finalizing scopes and dates for upcoming audits to be scheduled on the next few months. Moving forward, during the month of January, we found and reported 2 critical vulnerabilities, 1 high, 3 low, 6 informative, for a total of 12 vulnerabilities. Moreover, you can see a list of the most relevant vulnerabilities, so other projects may have them as reference while developing. As I mentioned, we have reported on this month and the past month the 2 critical vulnerabilities, the 2 first that you can see on the list, pool price manipulation and missing scope and verify. It was detected that a project that uses 3 different projects from the Neo ecosystem is vulnerable to a pool price manipulation, or as is most commonly known, a sandwich attack, which is similar to a front running in DeFi and directly affects the economics and the yield of the compound interest of the project. Finally, you can see an overall summary of last year, in which we reported 28 critical vulnerabilities, 19 high, 48 medium, 50 low, 115 informative, for a total of 260 vulnerabilities found and reported. As I mentioned, we are very pleased to start a new year working together and continue to improve Neo security and its developments. Thank you everyone for your attention.